Hi, welcome to Mindful Mondays with Carrie, and thanks for showing up today. I want to wish everyone a happy Mother's Day. And I want to kick off today. I wanted to kick off a series on reparenting in honor of Mother's Day. So today I'm going to share a little bit about myself and move into the inner child, which will help set us up for the next several episodes on reparenting. It's so easy to blame our mothers, all the jokes about, oh, well, it must be your mother's fault in therapy or that type of thing. And there's also so much judgment and shame around mothering. Personally, I had big struggles as a parent. I really struggled, and with a lot of self-shame. And it wasn't until later, I was looking for so many resources to help me with my own struggles as a young mother. And my daughter was struggling, and I didn't feel effective in supporting her and loving her in the way I know she needed. And traditional therapy did not help me. I think it provided some support at times, but it was not what I needed. And it wasn't until I was becoming a therapist and in the Pennsylvania Gestalt Center and really learning about Gestalt that I learned about my relationship with myself. I think it came up in therapy before, but more like self-compassion, but not like a really felt understanding of what that meant. Not until Gestalt, when I started learning about the relationship with self. And that's where the healing really started to happen. It's not until really learning to love myself and accept myself that things start to shift. If I'm looking outside of myself to get my needs met and, to find love and acceptance, I'm already showing up, putting a strain on the relationship. However, if I'm showing up and I am, able to love and support and accept myself as I am, then I'm able to show up differently in my relationships. And I think so often we project our stuff onto our children. For me, I had already learned from my childhood that it was safer to stay under the radar, don't make waves. I wanted to be invisible, and I was a 20-year-old mother, so I already felt like I stood out. And I also was really isolated, and I didn't have a strong co-parent, and I felt all alone in it. And then with the dynamic between me and my daughter, she's just a type that's can be a little louder and more assertive. And when she was little, it came out as aggressive, which triggered all of my stuff that hadn't been healed yet. And then it just had this dynamic. So really working on my relationship with myself and learning to reparent myself helped me so that I could show up more fully for my daughter. And now, being able to hear the ways in which I impacted her, and to take responsibility for that and to create a new relationship with her is one of the biggest joys of my life. And now being able to watch her as a mother for my grandchildren is just such a blessing. So I thought it'd be wonderful to just start talking about reparenting. And I've heard a lot about reparenting through Gestalt and also through Dr. Nicole LaPera and Michelle Chalfant. So I'll be taking things from all these different places. And certainly I think there might be an opportunity to go deeper into some of these aspects in later episodes. Let's see. So the inner child. I think in Gestalt, at least in the Gestalt Center where I learned, the relationship with self is there's like a receiver. There's a receiver and a provider in our relationship with ourselves. Kind of like when we're in relationships with somebody else. I might be, receiving, maybe somebody's giving me a neck rub. I could really use a shoulder rub right now, which is why that came up. I'm receiving that. And then the other person's providing it. And then maybe I'll be giving them a neck rub and then I'm providing and they're receiving, right? So we have this provider-receiver dynamic in the relationship with ourselves as well. It can kind of get confusing. And I think one way that I really felt it is to think of the receiver as the inner child. Okay, so this is the part that feels the feelings, and we can feel it, like the body sensations is coming from, if I'm in a conversation and I start feeling tension, like those sensations in the body are from like the inner child, okay? It's really, this part of us is our true self, our authentic self. We are born into this world fully expressed, fully authentic. We know no other way. We don't have any other script for how to do this life. We're just there, right? And this part is also stored in the subconscious. So what else? I don't want to overcomplicate it. So there are some core needs. We all have needs. There's universal needs. To have needs is not to be needy. It is to be human and healthy to have needs. You can think back to the awareness and contact cycle, to be able to recognize what our needs are and to ask for them and get them met. That's kind of part of reparenting. So some core needs that we all have in childhood, but also as adults, is our identity and significance, to feel like I am who I am, and to feel a sense of belonging and connectedness in our families and communities. To be able to express ourselves, this authenticity, to be able to be who I am and express myself. So also safety, okay, certainly physical safety, but more emotional safety, to be able to be fully expressed in my authentic being and to be accepted, to trust that I can be myself in relationship with others, okay? And that leads to connection and love. Certainly there's introverts and extroverts. Different people need different amounts of socialization or contact with people. And everybody needs connection and love, to be able to be vulnerable with somebody and to feel safe and connected with that person in that deep, vulnerable, true, real space. That secure connection, that secure attachment. That could be for another episode. Also space for autonomy, to be able to be, to have my own ideas and my own perspective and my own way of being. And then that's okay, to be able to have space to do that. And also just space with ourselves. Another need is variety and stimulation, to be open and receptive to learning and to experiencing new things, because another need is growth. We aren't static beings. We want to evolve, to change, to have new experiences, to grow. And those are some basic core needs. Also, other things that can go into that, like creativity and play and spontaneity and joy. Those are all part of our inner child as well. And to be able to feel our feelings. Also, very important. So when our needs are met, we're nourished, we're nurtured, and we're able to be our authentic self, okay? Now, often, most of us, these aren't always met, or, some of them are met, but then we have some instances where they're not met. And it could be like one situation or depending on family dynamics or relationships, you know, it's not just in family. It could be in our school or in our friend group or our neighborhood or the church or religious community. You know, there's so many other places that things can happen where our needs aren't met. And then we have emotional wounds, okay? So you might know that you have a wounded inner child if you have a lot of fear-based thinking. Your choices that you make are because you're afraid of something, not because you're walking towards something and choosing something, okay? Just a lot of like feeling unsafe, okay? Maybe there's a lot of blaming and criticizing outside of ourselves and being like just reactive. You know, we react from this emotion rather than kind of being able to connect with ourselves and then respond with intention. You know, a lot of comparing, you know, ourselves with the outside, maybe looking for that external, you know, I need somebody to love me to make sure that I'm lovable rather than it coming from the inside out. You know, all or nothing thinking, neglecting our self-care, not being able to have boundaries. These are all kind of experiences of the wounded inner child, old emotional wounds, okay? And it's very natural to have these. I think it's part of the human experience. And from this, we have... Back to the awareness and contact cycle, I think I talked a lot about creative adaptations. You know, when our needs aren't met, when we're not being nurtured, and we don't know what's happening, we're children and we don't know how to get them met, we're going to find ways to get them met the easiest way we can based on our environment and who we are in the world. So we might be people pleasers, okay? We might not know how to say no. We might be a jokester, use a lot of humor, okay? We might look outside of ourselves, like put somebody up on a pedestal or need a guru or somebody to tell us what to do. I don't know what to wear. Tell me what to wear. Tell me what I look good in, that sort of thing. Let's see. Yeah. People pleaser. Rescuer. You know, like I get my worth from rescuing somebody else. Helper, like I need to do for you so that you'll like me or accept me or so that I'm worthy, those types of things. So we find ways to adapt to our environment and find ways to get our needs met. And this is brilliant. And this is the wisdom of our being to be able to do that, okay? And it's kind of, oh gosh, I'm sorry, sometimes I don't remember where I hear things, but I think it was a golden Buddha, and it was like a monastery, and they were going to move this Buddha statue, this really big Buddha statue, and they realized they needed something. They were going to do it the next day, and somebody went out and saw it was raining, and they saw kind of a glimmer, and they started chipping away and realized that there was this whole clay or something, and underneath it was like the golden Buddha. I'm sorry if I'm messing that all up, but my point is we have this perfect, authentic essence of who we are, right? You know, thinking of an infant, sometimes we can think of this just so worthy of love, doesn't have to do anything to earn it. It's just there, worthy and lovable and precious, okay? And then it's like through these wounds and not getting our needs met that we create different ways of being in order to get them met. And then sometimes they become rigid. Like we think, oh, well, this is just who I am. And it's a way of being. It's not necessarily who I am. Now, if it's serving you, great, by all means. But if it's getting in the way, then maybe something to look at. So when we are able to provide ourselves the nurturing and the care, you know, again, going back to that awareness and contact cycle, how can I nurture myself? How can I provide myself that love and attention that I deserve, you know, that you deserve? And when we're able to do that, we can start feeling more safe. Like instead of outsourcing that I need somebody else to make me safe, I'm in charge of my safety. And how do I do that? How do I connect with myself so I can really trust my instincts and know the difference between my instinct versus like a fear-based drive? Allowing the freedom of self-expression, right? Being able to observe myself without that harsh critic or that judge, more of a voice of an inner coach or a guide. Like, awesome, Carrie, you went out of your comfort zone. I'm doing a lot of this with this whole podcast, right? I know it's not smooth and polished and exactly as I'd like it. I don't know that I always, I get nervous and I lose my train of thought. And, I could totally look at other people's stuff and compare how like, oh, Carrie, you're not doing it right and all that stuff. And I'm really practicing what I preach, and I'm able to kind of observe and say, awesome, Carrie, you are going outside of your comfort zone and you keep taking one step after the other. And I want this process to be smoother. And I'm trusting the process, and I'm trusting myself, and I'm looking at ways that I can do it so it gets a little easier, and that I feel more confident and comfortable as I sit here with you. Being able to observe without that harsh critic, and more of an inner coach and a guide, and validate, encouraging myself throughout the process, right? So that's more of what it would look like as a, a kind of not the wounded inner child, but more of a healed inner child. Also being able to practice self-care and loving self-discipline, and having healthy boundaries, and being able to fully feel and express our emotions, and not in a reactive way. I'm angry, so I'm going to bite your head off, but I'm feeling angry, and like, what is this impact? And being able to express that in ways that are healthy and life-giving. Also being able to play, okay, be creative, spontaneous, experience joy. Those things are really important. So, so your teachable takeaway is to really connect with your inner child. Noticing were some of those experiences of the wounded inner child things that you could resonate with. Being aware of what that dialogue is. We all have an inner dialogue. What does yours sound like? Is it critical or is it loving, right? Like, are you saying, I've certainly had one that's like, get your shit together, and it's not kind and loving at all. And then being able to really notice how the quality of my inner dialogue has changed. So check in. What is it for you? You might even write a letter to your inner child. It might be that you write from your inner child. Like, if, what does your inner child need? Let that part of you write a letter. Okay. And then you can write a letter back to your inner child. What does that part of you want and need? If that doesn't sound within reach for you, another one is that I want you to just get into a comfortable position. I invite you, I'm going to share some affirmations, like wise inner parent affirmations. So if you want to go ahead and get into a comfortable position, I invite you to close your eyes if that feels good for you, if you're in a place to do that. Just a caveat, if you're driving, keep your eyes on the road, and maybe stop this recording until you're in a place where you can really relax. And take a couple deep breaths. I really like putting my hand on my heart and my belly when I do affirmations or any kind of self-love, coming back into myself. I do this a lot too with my inner child. There are times I have some social anxiety. If I'm going into a group where I don't know anybody, I even have a chat with her beforehand, like, I got you, and I might even imagine having her hand as I'm walking into the place, to the party, to the group, whatever it might be. Like, I'm here for you. I'm going to pay attention to you, and I'm going to take care of you. And another time is to, like, it feels like an internal hug when I put hands on my heart and my belly. So if that feels good, go ahead and try that for yourself. And again, I'm going to just repeat some affirmations, and you can just listen if that feels right. And I might pause if you want to repeat them for yourself out loud. Feel free to do that as well. My needs matter. I matter. My needs matter. I matter. I deserve to take up space and express myself. I deserve to take up space and express myself. It's okay to make mistakes and to learn. It's okay to make mistakes and learn. I don't need to have all the answers. I don't need to have all the answers. It's okay to have fun, to play, and to explore just because I want to. It's okay to have fun, to play, and to explore just because I want to. I'm allowed to say no to anything that doesn't serve me without guilt. It's okay to say no to anything that doesn't serve me without guilt. I am safe now. I'm here to protect you. I am safe now. I'm here to protect you. My feelings are valid and important, and I get to feel my feelings. My feelings are valid and important, and I get to feel my feelings. I am worthy of love and belonging just as I am. I'm worthy of love and belonging just as I am. And that completes our episode today. So again, the teachable takeaways, if you want to try writing a letter to your inner child, by all means, I think that can be a wonderful thing. You can then read it to yourself by looking in a mirror and really being slow and intentional about how you read it to really take it in. If you feel like you're in a safe place to do that in a loving way. And then also just to really take it in and listen to these affirmations as many times as feels right for you. And thank you again for joining in. I hope you have a mindful week.